My process is I wake up, get that first cup of coffee, get a couple lines out in the journal just to keep my head straight. And then I open up the iPad, and the piece that I'm working on is currently about 250 words. It's a piece of microfiction. And every morning I just duplicate the last piece. So like, for example, I might have written, I might be working on it today, and then kind of throughout the day might be like, oh, you know what? That's a good sentence. Let's explore that sentence. And I'll open that document back up and put it at the bottom and put it at the bottom. And then the next day I make a duplicate of that so that the ideas I had the day before are still there, but I now have a new sandbox within which to play. I can delete that sentence or just stick it in somewhere so that I have like, I think right now I might have maybe 12-ish drafts because it's a new day each time. And so maybe it's worth going back to the first draft because I'm so many drafts away from it to see if there's something that maybe might help my current draft that I got away from in the first one. So maybe, because I've never really actually even thought about it, of going back through other drafts. I'm only like, this is the current draft. This is where it's currently at. This is where I need to work from. Instead of maybe taking a moment or maybe an extra day to look back through other drafts for something that I might have forgotten, overlooked, or gotten away from that I want to return to.
Yeah. And the other thing you might see from that is why you removed a section, from one draft to the other, and why you started to drift in a new, vector instead of what the initial draft had given you. That would be kind of cool too. Because then you might be able to get back into your thought process of, oh, right, yeah, I initially said it this way, but then I wanted to go in this other direction. Oh, yeah. So, yeah, that sounds great. Try that out. I don't keep all drafts. I don't, I do, from way back, but I find that version control is a real issue for me. And I just want to make sure I have the correct version. I don't want to send the wrong one. So I tend to just keep one.
Right. Yeah, that's I have made those mistakes. I have learned. So now I'm getting better at labeling each one with the date that I've got. So that it's not, you don't face the embarrassment of, oh my gosh, I just submitted this to the paranoid tree, one of my dream journals, and now I have to email them and say, could I take this back? I meant to send this one.
Right.
Which is an actual story. I did that to Paranoid Tree, but they were very, very kind. They were like, oh, don't worry. It happens more often than you think. So, yeah, just send us what you want. And then a month later, declined.
That's right. Anyway, just you wait. They declined you that day. You just didn't know about it until a month later. There's a whole thing. I've worked in recruiting, not at my current company, but at a different company. I was the head of recruiting. So, and I've only recently noticed that places that you're submitting to want to have a short bio, like 75 word bio. Unfortunately, I have one, and I haven't done very much, so it's easy to fill up 75 words. No, but it's I've done enough that I can fill up 75 words, so that's good. The whole submitting thing for me has been a little more tense than I remember it being. I like Submittable because it's easy to find good potential places to submit. It's easy to actually do the submitting. I don't mind the payment so much. It kind of dribs and drabs. I was thinking like back in the day, I would print 50 copies of a story, buy enough stamps to send it out everywhere. I'd send it all at once and then just check the mail religiously for 3 months and hope for the best. This way, I don't want to send out 50 all at the same time, because from a cost standpoint, I kind of want to control that. But it does change the numbers game a little bit. If I'm sending out, say, 5 at a time, and waiting for a couple of those rejections and then sending out 5 more, I like to have something in rotation all the time, but I do find that the cost has gone up as far as just getting your work in front of people to consider. The convenience has drastically improved, but the cost has also gone up.
There are places that you could submit to, every place is different. It's a bit of keeping an eye open. I do this via my Twitter feed with all of the literary magazines and folks who are publishing and who have great works out there. There's a sort of vibe you could start to get with certain magazines. Like sometimes the submission fee is a lot, and people are like, I didn't hear back from them for like 2 years, and I paid $6 for the submission. Like, what's the deal? So it's basically, I think it just comes down to sort of research, kind of, in the words of the Wu-Tang Clan, protect your neck, in so far as if it seems shady, it could be, and do a little bit more research for it. But yes, there is definitely a cost with some magazines, and it's because, they're trying to, there are running costs. They do have to do things. I think Submittable has a fee that they need to pay to be listed. So, if it's a magazine that you really, really are aspiring for, it's just going to be part of the process.
Yeah.
But there are also plenty of magazines out there that don't have submission fees.
Yeah, and I'm still learning about which ones I want to be a part of, because I'm not picky, but I definitely want to submit to a place where I would be proud to say, ooh, guess who accepted me? X, this place. So I don't throw my work to everyone. I try to focus on short story and literary as my two big keywords. And I just got a wonderful rejection from Granta, which was a form and very short. So on the Scott Farron ranking, it would have been a slip of paper, not an index card, and certainly not a full piece of paper. So that's right. It clearly didn't make it very far. But anyway, it was a short story, so maybe it only gets a slip of paper.
Yeah. Yep. I think I told you via text earlier this week, I got a rejection that was very much like, oh, wow, we really love this. We love the irony, and the last line was so great. And side note, I am so insecure about the endings of my pieces. And so to have them say, wow, the last line really, really resonated with our readers, was really, really bolstering for me. But it was rejected. So we love it. It's great, but it's rejected. But I mean, to be fair, I think it would be very, very easy for a younger me to be like, well, what the heck? What's going on? Well, screw you. That's stupid. Why would you say such nice things? And now, actually, essentially, how I dealt with any relationship when I got dumped. But anyway, literary magazines have a very certain perspective and an aesthetic that they want to go to. So you might have a beautiful piece that they absolutely love, but it just doesn't fit what their mission is, what their goal is, or what they're trying to do, for example, for their next issue of their lit mag, or whatever vibe they're trying to go for. So, it's humbling. It's nice. Great. Thank you very much. It feels nice. It's not an acceptance. I don't get to be like, hey, I got something out there. But it is nice to feel like I'm on kind of the right path, so to speak.
Yeah, I'm learning that, what you've just expressed. I'm still learning that it's timing as much as it is quality. When it comes across the editor's desk, is the next issue one that's focused on Halloween or spooky themes, and you don't have a spooky story? Well, do the research and maybe don't send that to them if the story's not spooky. I had a really interesting submission. We'll see if anything pans out, but there's a journal that's specific to stories about motherhood. And I thought, oh, wait a minute. The story, it doesn't identify the gender. So could be a mother. Yeah, I'm going to send it. So we'll see. We'll see if they like it, but, regardless, it's a little frustrating, and a little demoralizing to not know that I'm maximizing my potential by sending my work to the right places. So I think maybe in the future we should do some research and maybe share it with the folks about how to really laser in on your target audience. I think if you're writing genre fiction, that's a lot easier, because it's like, we want speculative work. And then you just look for all the journals that say they want speculative fiction. And then there you go. That's where you send it. But for literary stuff, it's such a grab bag of, they want a certain theme for a particular issue, right? Like we're talking about, adventure this time around. So your story has to focus on adventure. What the hell does that mean? Okay. I maybe my interpretation of adventure is different from yours, and where I see this as being adventurous, you're like, this is boring, but it's well written and whatever, but we're not going to publish it because we had a fundamental miscommunication from the word go. So it's just like, damn,
Yeah.
it's hard enough to write the stuff. Can I catch a break in sending it to somebody who will take it seriously? So that's where I am.
Yeah.
Remember we talked about that. I had a different part of my brain that hadn't been turned on because I'm like, I just want to try to do the work well. Well, I still have more to learn, but I did turn that part of my brain on recently because I'm like, the story's done. I kind of want to get it out the door. And man, I think I want to turn that part off again and go back to writing stories.
Right. Yeah. I know that there are times where I can fall really, 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 really far into some self-loathing with rejections, especially if I feel like I've written a piece. This is exactly, I feel like I'm right in line with what this magazine does. And I've had a couple times where I've done that. And I would maybe say like maybe twice a year where I find myself in the absolute depths when I get the rejection. But for the most part, I think I've talked about this before when it comes to rejections, or you find the perfect magazine. You are on Twitter. You find a magazine and you're like, wow, look at this. This is exactly what I like to write. You read a couple of their pieces and you're like, this is amazing. That's fantastic. Oh, I write this kind of stuff. And then you go to their submission guidelines and find out, hey, for the next 6 months, we're only taking submissions that deal with pine trees. Whatever that means to you,
Right.
we're only going to accept works that deal with pine trees. And the greatest improviser that I've ever worked with, and I don't have a lot of experience. I don't have, tons and tons, but I met a gentleman. His name is Matt Horgan, and he's one of the greatest people I've ever met in my life. He's the nicest person ever. And he always told us, whenever you fail on stage, you have to be charming about it in front of an audience, because nothing creates a worse atmosphere or an awkward atmosphere if you fail on stage and you're like, son of a, you're kicking chairs and you're throwing stuff and you're being like, I don't know, some bad boy actor person and get off stage. You just have to be charming. You just have to shrug. Oh, well, I tried, and move on. And that, I know that sounds weird, but it hits me so much when I find that lit mag that I feel is perfect, that I feel I'm really excited about submitting to, and then find out, A, they're not open for another 2 years because they have too many submissions. B, they only want stories about pine trees. C, they're, looking for this, and this, is just to go, instead of, because I could put myself in a place where it's like, I'm never going to find a place to accept my work. Darn, or get angry about it. You can't. You just have to shrug it off. Just like Matt Horgan said, oh, well, not for me. I'll follow them. I'll keep tabs on them. Let's move on to somewhere else. And before you know it, that lit mag is like, hey, open for everything. And then you might have a better chance.
Yeah, that's great advice. Yeah, I hope to take it one day.
Yeah. And of course, if we ever talk, and not on this podcast, on those days when I'm like, I just don't know, Art, this, like, just do as I say, not as I do. That's the thing.
I don't know. I'm
best management advice ever.
Exactly. I'm trying to figure out a way to kind of weave these two topics together into a trick to make me do what I know I should do and I don't want to do. So, for example, if I get a rejection, that triggers me to immediately dive back into a story that I'm working on. I'll bet there are people out there who already do that. But maybe that's a way to kind of punch through the bummerness of it. Cause it's not like, it's like a mini breakup, or it's almost like back in the day when I would, when I was single and I would try to get a girl's number, for example, and get turned down. That happened, with alarming frequency. It feels the same way. You send this thing off and you're hopeful that it'll kind of start something. And then they're like, yeah, we're good. It's like, oh man. So it's like, it does last for a little while. It's just not a deep cut. It's like a tiny paper cut. And I guess if you get enough of those over time, it could really dissuade you from doing the work at all. But maybe if I treat it not like a paper cut and I treat it more like a kick in the pants, like go do the work. Like these people just turned you down, double down, go do some more work. That's probably the right way that I should do that. So I'm going to give that a shot.
Sometimes I feel like I do the best work when I have a mindset of, oh, I'll show them. And I know that sounds very, very like, it sounds like I'm telling you to be a jerk, but do it for yourself, not in a public way. Like, don't tell them, I'll show you, you said I was crazy and now I'm published and screw you. But do it for yourself. And I think that that's when I feel the best, when it's like, okay, I've got a secret. I know that I'm a good writer. I know that I can do this. I'll show them. Do it for yourself. Don't do it publicly. Don't do it to the magazines. Don't do it to your friends. But when I have that kind of confidence, I feel it really takes me from that moment of, oh, all right, well, I got rejected. I guess I'll just go back to the drawing board. It really does kind of help me in a way to kind of give me the confidence. And I'm sure there's a zillion ways for folks to self-generate their own confidence to get them back into writing. But for me, every now and then when I have that, oh, I got a rejection, huh? They didn't like this story? Well, I'll show them. I know this is a good piece. I'm going to go try and just let's go see if I can retool it, because I know it's there.
Yeah,
that doesn't happen a lot, but it sometimes happens.
Yeah, I never get upset with the magazine, or the journal. Never. I really just wish I had more information to know why they didn't move forward with it. Was the quality not there? I can accept that. Was the theme incorrect? Was it a formatting thing? Did they just have too much of the same thing? Like, there's a bunch of reasons why they would pass, but unfortunately you just get the form letter, which is, we didn't think this was a good fit, and good luck on your writing journey. And it gives me no information, none, other than no. Yeah. So I think I wish I had more detail on why, because then I could kind of know if I need to, like, if the story's bad. So I send it in and they're like, ooh, no, that would be helpful. I would like to know if the story is just cringeworthy bad, because, it would help me calibrate my sense of what is good. And it's so strange. It's so subjective how people respond to different books. And so often these great masters of literature, when they released their most famous books, the books were sort of widely not seen as good. And it took a while for generations to kind of catch up to that author's vision. And I'm not at all saying that that's what's happening in my work. I just know that that's a thing. Like the author's empirical skill, even though that doesn't really exist, but like the author's ability to create art doesn't always match the audience that's trying to consume it.
Right.
So like the only thing you can do is just your best. So I think that's why I'm thinking, okay, well, really the only value I can get out of this rejection is go do more work, because, then you'll have more opportunities. So yeah, that's why I'm kind of pivoting to that. Because it's not like I need more opportunity to write. I need more motivation. And that might just be a way to motivate me.